Here in the United States, we promise safety, security, and stability because here in the US, this is the greatest country ever. Well, that is what we have been told. That is what people across the world have been told as well. However, is that even true? Well, according to some, they say no, absolutely not, because President Biden has failed millions and millions of Americans, and we are just now noticing. Well, what does this mean? What am I talking about? And how is this going to impact you? Well, we're going to get to that in today's video. All I ask is if you can spend just 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button, and let's begin. The United States has always been a place that other people want to come to. You look at other countries and they say, I want to go to the United States. That's where I want to be. That's where I want to raise my family. That's where I need to live. Well, now what we're getting is many people do not want to be here in the United States after they've already gotten here. And this is turning into a massive problem because President Biden has stated and he has vowed that he is going to make this the best country in the world. He has stated multiple times that our border is not open. Yet, we are letting thousands and thousands of people into the United States every single day. Here's what's going on. Because Democrats are furious that President Biden is not doing what he's promised. Look at this. It says Democratic cities brace for a nightmare winter housing migrants. It says as the temperatures start to drop, it is crucial now more than ever that the federal government finish the job they started. This is a spokesperson for the New York City Mayor, Eric Adams. The United States government decided we were not going to close our borders. We were going to allow thousands and thousands of people into the United States. And these are not necessarily people that have a place to go, have family members that they can stay with. So what happened is all these people just entered into the United States, mainly through Texas, and the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, he decided he was going to put them all on buses and he was going to send them to New York and to Chicago and to other states that are accepting of new people, right? Of more immigrants. Well, this is turning into a massive issue, and I want to read this. Look at this. It says migrants in Chicago huddle on the floors of police stations and sleep in city buses kept running overnight to block out the cold. In Massachusetts, where the emergency shelter system hit capacity earlier this month, the state is converting office space into shelters, and at least one local group is stockpiling sleeping bags. And in New York, where shelters are also full, the city has taken extraordinary steps to providing migrants one-way plane tickets to as far away as Morocco and have contemplated handing out tents to newly arriving migrants so they can sleep in parks. Sleeping in a park, if it is 20 degrees out, would be miserable. Why would somebody want to come to the United States to sleep in a tent in a park and they will freeze? I don't think anybody wants to. But that is not the picture that people are painting. So what we are now hearing is that Democratic governors are asking President Biden for more help. They need more money. Well, guess what? President Biden is going to do just that. Because in a recent bill that was supposed to send money to Israel and to Ukraine, that actually has about $1.5 billion in it for additional relief for immigrants here in the United States. So in that bill that is supposed to send relief to two other countries, we are now seeing that Democrats are hiding $1.5 billion in there to address this border crisis. But yet when Republicans ask to address the border crisis, Democrats say, no, absolutely not. We cannot do that because this is what we need. We need more people coming into the United States. Well, I've talked about this before. Every single person that comes into the United States is costing the American taxpayers more money. Every single taxpayer right now pays about $1,100 per year in order to house illegal immigrants. That's how many we have. That is a massive number, and this is why some are saying that we need to address the border problem first. If we address the border problem, stop allowing people into the United States that are not going to work, because if you work, you pay taxes. If you pay taxes, then they say you are a legal resident. Now, obviously, there's other things involved in that as well, but that is a big issue. Right now, the federal government, Republicans and Democrats, continue to fight over funding. How are we going to fund this bill and that bill? How are we going to send billions of dollars to Israel and Ukraine and other countries? Well, one way to do that is with additional tax revenue, but not tax the lower income households. And Republicans say we cannot just tax the wealthy. We have to tax everybody. That includes illegal immigrants that are working. But how do we get them to pay a tax? Well, you get them a work permit. You allow them to work. But they need to come into the United States legally. Now, I want to read you some things. Okay? First off, what we are now hearing is that more and more states are concerned with the amount of increasing migrants that are coming in. They're taking some jobs from their citizens and from the state's residents. That is very problematic. But at the same time, if they're willing to do the job, should we allow them to? Well, here's what we know. Many governors are asking President Biden for more funding. They want more funding so that they can put up temporary housing. Just to give you an idea, look at this. Because Governor Pritzker said at least $65 million of the new $160 million the state is investing to address its migrant surge will go towards a winterized soft shelter site that's going to house up to 2,000 migrants. Okay? A soft shelter site, which is essentially just a big tent. Okay? That's pretty much what it is. Now, what we know is that more states are considering this. Put up a soft shelter site. They're trying to take after what other states are doing. For instance, Chicago, and this is something that's fairly new, Chicago is actually imposing a 60-day limit for shelter stays. This is exactly what New York City has been doing for the past month, is they are enacting a 60-day shelter limit as well. So an individual or family can only stay in a shelter for a maximum of 60 days, then they have to leave and the next person can come in. They can come back though. So for instance, let's say this shelter isn't at capacity at 60 days, technically they have to leave, but they can come right back in because they would be the next one in line. But if there's a whole line of 100 people outside, then that person that gets kicked out at 60 days goes to the back of the line, they funnel everybody in, and once they come back, okay, yep, it's your turn, you got another 60 days. But winter could be over by then. So this is turning into a massive issue because the majority of these states that are complaining are saying that the Texas governor keeps sending more buses. They keep sending immigrants up to the north. Well, the north is cold. We cannot keep these people up in New York and Chicago. They should stay down in the south because the temperatures are a little bit better. It's a little bit easier. But that's not what's going to happen. But the reason why I want to bring this up is because we are now starting to see the American people notice. Let me read you a couple comments that I received. Here's one. It says, Adam, this year has been extraordinarily difficult for my shelter. I've managed a shelter for the past 7 years, and nothing compares to what we are seeing today. There are so many new people showing up each week that we can't keep housing all of them. We were lucky enough to get an increased donation, but even now, it is not enough. And with the winter fast approaching, I am worried that all these families will be stuck out in the cold. Something has to change, and it must change now. That was one of the comments that I received. The other one, let me show you this. There are 4 tents outside my local grocery store. 4 tents. Okay? says there are 4 tents outside my local grocery store, all with big families sleeping in them. Looks like they just moved. How is this acceptable? They are right outside. And this is something that I've seen a lot lately as well, is there's more and more families that are now showing up, living in tents. And what's difficult about this is these families are going to have to rely on the resources that they can get, right? And so I talked to a friend of mine the other day. He works, volunteers in a shelter, and he simply said that yes, that they're at capacity and have been for months, but that's not his biggest. It's a concern, but that's not his biggest worry. His biggest worry is that the locals that were coming to the shelter, because they also give away food and stuff, that now, because the problem is they're regulars. They're regulars. And now what they're facing is the regulars that they've had do not have enough food, because now they have to ration it out to everybody. They're unable to get additional donations. They're not able to get more supplies. And it's turning into a massive crisis, not just for the immigrants that are coming in, but for the locals that have relied on that shelter and that food bank for years. And so now what we're seeing is everybody is starting to notice that bringing more immigrants in is turning into a problem. Now, I want to read you this. Statement. Now, one of the things that's happening right now is New York City is giving away plane tickets, and so if you come to New York City and you need housing, you need shelter, you need help, one of the things New York City is doing is they're buying you tickets out of the city, potentially even out of the country. But I want to read you the statement. Okay, this is from the governor of New York, from the mayor Eric Adams. So what he has to say. Look at this. It says, "When you are out of room, that means you are out of room," Adams told the reporters on Tuesday. "Every year, my relatives show up for Thanksgiving and they want to all sleep at my house. There's no more room. That's where we're at right now. Is New York City does not have any more room." And when you think about this, and Thanksgiving was just yesterday, and so obviously this is a interesting example, but when you think about that, and relatives come from out of town, they want to sleep in your guest bedroom, people are on the couch, you get a blow-up mattress, whatever, they're just sprawled out everywhere. Eventually, there's no more room. There's no more spare bedrooms. There's no more extra couches. There's no more, more blow-up beds. We're at capacity. And at that point, then do you start turning your family away? Or what do you do then? So, I just thought this was interesting when I was reading this morning, that these Democratic cities are bracing for a miserable winter, because they are expecting thousands and thousands of people to be out in the cold. But again, this is why a lot of people are saying President Biden is failing, and has been for many years. So, we'll see what happens. We'll see if anything changes. But as we get more information, I promise I'll fill you in on all the latest news and updates. But that is what we know at this time. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.